Voters in New York City are taking to the polls today. They are going to elect a new mayor. 3 candidates are vying for control of the largest city and the richest city in the United States: Curtis Silva, Zohran Mamdani, and Andrew Cuomo. Now, opinion polls show the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani holding a clear lead, in fact, a double-digit lead over the rest of the candidates. The closest seems to be Andrew Cuomo, who's the former New York governor. The question, though, is Donald Trump did give a late endorsement to Andrew Cuomo, but will that clinch the mayoral election in his favor? Mamdani, like I said, is currently leading by double digits. And what does a Mamdani win mean for New York City's future with Donald Trump? After all, New York is Trump's hometown.
People can afford a decent lifestyle in this state.
Andrew, you didn't leave, you fled.
It is knowledge that is a betrayal of everything that we stand for as New Yorkers.
US President Donald Trump has strongly suggested that he would prefer Andrew Cuomo, the former New York governor, to win the New York City mayor's race. He has mocked Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee and the frontrunner, calling him a little communist. And finally, on Monday evening, just hours before Election Day, Trump made it official. He endorsed Andrew Cuomo over Zohran Mamdani in the race to be New York City's next mayor.
We have a communist who's 33 years old, doesn't know a damn thing. Practically, he's never worked a day in his life. And he sort of caught on, right? And I'm not going to send a lot of money to New York. I don't have to. You know, the money comes all through the White House. And if they're going to be sending us stupid policies, I mean, communist policies, which is proven for thousands of years doesn't work. You know, we don't have to prove it again. We're not going to ruin one of our great cities because we'll make that great.
As he's done in the past, Trump has also threatened to withhold federal funds other than whatever is the very minimum required from the city if Mamdani is elected. Trump has said that he would rather see an on-the-record Democrat like Cuomo win the race rather than a communist who has zero experience in governance, in reference to Zohran Mamdani. Interestingly, he also dissed the only Republican candidate in the fray, Curtis Silva, saying that a vote for Silva is actually a vote for Mamdani. Silva has been accused of splitting the establishment vote and thereby helping the anti-establishment candidate, that is Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani, for his part, has also sought to link Cuomo to Trump throughout the campaign. He has noted that they have some of the same big money donors. Mamdani paints both Trump and Cuomo with the same brush, saying that they're backed by the same set of billionaires, while he is backed by the common people of New York.
Donald Trump just put out a statement encouraging New Yorkers, saying they must vote for Andrew Cuomo. We know and have known for months that Donald Trump would favor Andrew Cuomo as the mayor. They share the same donors. They share the same small vision. They share the same sense of impunity.
But it's not just about New York City. Tuesday will also see governor's races in neighboring New Jersey and in Virginia, which abuts the capital, Washington, D.C. So in a sense, the Tuesday vote is an indicator of the national mood in 2 of America's biggest cities. President Trump is facing a major test of his power and his influence with the elections that will offer a sense of the voters' mood in America. But the elections are not just his only problem. If Trump continues his standoff with the Democrats, by the end of the week, he will oversee the longest and potentially the most painful government shutdown in the history of the United States. And a large majority of Americans are blaming him for the shutdown. In New Jersey, Democratic governor candidate Mikey Sherrill is leading by 6 points, and in Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger is leading by over 10 points. Now, it points to a Democratic landslide in Tuesday's elections, which could be a spanner in the works for Trump. It also comes at a time when some of his key policy decisions have been challenged in the U.S. Supreme Court. There are also on-ballot measures in California and in Pennsylvania. So the places that go to polls on Tuesday happen to be predominantly Democratic cities or states, But nonetheless, it will represent a challenge to Trump and his unfettered style of governance that America has seen in the last 9 months of his presidency. Trump has unilaterally upended many of America's long-standing policies when it comes to immigration, foreign policy, launching wars on foreign soil or even on international waters, and the most damaging of all of it, the international trade tariffs, which have set off trade wars. If he loses a bulk of these electoral fights on Tuesday in New York, in New Jersey, in Virginia, it could push Congress to put guardrails on the president. So far in his second term, the president has had a unilateral style of functioning, and that has collided with many Democrat-run cities and states. He's picked up open and public showdowns with Democratic governors like Gavin Newsom of California and J.B. Pritzker of Illinois. Trump has also sent the National Guard to predominantly Democrat-run cities like Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Chicago. And this has brought him into the crosshairs of many of the Democratic mayors of these cities. Trump has also been taking a particular interest in governors' races both in New Jersey and in Virginia, which is seen as a forecast of what could happen in the 2026 midterm elections. The Democrats are hoping to retake the House, which is one of the two chambers of the U.S. Congress, in next year's midterm elections. And on Tuesday night, they could know if they can do just that.
All they have to do is vote to open the country.
Trump has not campaigned in person, either in Virginia or in New Jersey, but he's expected to campaign virtually in the final few hours leading up to Election Day. He's also lent considerable real estate to both of those races, New Jersey and Virginia, on his social media website, Truth Social. He's also threatened to withdraw funds from New York City, his hometown, by the way, if it elects the communist that is Zohran Mamdani. But at the end of the day, all of these elections, maybe not all as all-consuming as the presidential race, but these are what Americans call the off-year elections. But these contests on November the 4th in states like New Jersey, Virginia, Pennsylvania, they could still tell about the mood of America a hell of a lot. It could serve as a pulse check for the Democrats who are desperate to show their supporters that they have something going for them. Republicans will also check whether the 2024 gains that Trump made with young voters and Latino voters and black voters, those still hold good after the upheaval that we've seen over the past year. But most importantly, the election results Tuesday night will also send a message to President Trump of whether America approves of his startling policies of the last 9 months. Whether he's on the ballot or not, Tuesday is indeed a test of Trump. All right, I want to go straight across to Jason Carroll, who's joining us live from New York City. Jason, thanks very much for joining us. More than 700,000 New Yorkers have already voted early for the mayoral elections. That's a record high just ahead of Election Day, which is today. What does the final turnout look like, and what does this increased voter turnout mean for the leading candidates, Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo?
Well, you can take a look right behind me, Zaka, and see still a lot of voters pouring into polling sites like where we are on Manhattan's Upper West Side. In terms of what all of this turnout means, I think you're going to have all of the candidates involved. Both candidates are saying that high turnout favors their campaign. Cuomo saying that high turnout will mean better chances for him. He's currently running behind the front runner, Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani has been pushing all weekend long, like Cuomo, telling all of his voters to get out there. So I think what you're going to hear from both campaigns saying that a high voter turnout will benefit each one of their campaigns. But again, you've got to look at the recent polling. Recent polling, in fact, not just the recent polling, but the polling throughout much of this campaign shows that Zohran Mamdani still holds a double-digit lead over former Governor Andrew Cuomo. So the former governor's got a lot of ground to make up here. The question is, with high voter turnout, can he make up that double-digit deficit that he's been facing?
President Trump, of course, endorsing Andrew Cuomo just in the last day or so, just ahead of Election Day. He's also, threatened that he will cut off federal funding to New York City if Mamdani were to win. How are city residents seeing this, and does his endorsement of Andrew Cuomo make a difference at all to this race?
Well, a couple of things. In terms of, as you say, how city residents are looking at that. Depends upon where you fall. If you're an Andrew Cuomo supporter, you're looking at a Trump endorsement as a way of saying that, look, if Cuomo were to be elected, this is someone who could work with the president. If you look at someone who supports Mamdani, these voters, what they're telling us is a Trump endorsement just shows that he, the former governor, is locked in step with the president, and that's not what they want to see. They want to see someone who's going to break away from President Trump, challenge President Trump. And when it comes from these threats to withhold federal dollars, Mamdani said that, look, if something like this happens, he's going to challenge this in the courts. And I think a lot of Mamdani residents look at that as just a lot of Trump rhetoric, much of this rhetoric they've seen in the past. This is the type of rhetoric that they're tired of hearing from, which is part of the reason why they're supporting Mamdani.
All right, Jason Carroll of CNN, thanks for joining us live from New York City. Thank you very much indeed.